Depersonalization or derealization is by far one of the scariest symptoms of anxiety and panic attacks. The Mayo Clinic describes the condition as observing yourself from outside your body or a sense that things around you aren't real. Now, I did a video on some of the most common symptoms of anxiety and panic attacks that are scary but completely normal. And many of you noted that depersonalization or derealization were not on the list. It deserves a video in itself. So what is derealization or depersonalization? Depersonalization distorts the self. The sense that your body, legs, or arms appear distorted, enlarged, or shrunken, or that your head is wrapped in cotton. Derealization deranges the outside world, causing one to feel emotionally disconnected from people you care about. Your surroundings appear distorted, blurry, colorless, two-dimensional, or artificial. That in itself seems scary enough, right? But I promise you, it is completely harmless. There is a lot that is going on in your body and your mind when you are in a state of anxiety and panic attacks. So what's happening in your body is adrenaline from prolonged anxiety directs blood from the brain to the big muscles, the quads and the biceps, so you can fight or flee, right? It also sends your blood into your core so that if your extremities are cut, you won't bleed to death. With the redirection of blood from the brain, many feel a sense of lightheadedness, and derealization or depersonalization is actually one of the most common complaints of anxiety. So one of the most common complaints of anxiety, one of the most common symptoms, yet one of the scariest, because you really feel like an out-of-body experience. The first time I felt this, it was a wild trip. I remember waking up from a nap and I got up to go put my contacts back in. As I was walking to the bathroom, all of a sudden I felt the room start to shrink around me. As I was looking straight ahead, I felt like all the colors started to mute themselves, and I just felt like being in Photoshop or After Effects or editing suite and feeling like the hue and saturation toggles started to shift. And I'm smiling right now because just thinking about it, oh my goodness, it was so scary. But now that I think back on it, I'm like, whoa, that was just bizarre. All these symptoms are completely normal. Derealization, depersonalization, and all the symptoms that I've covered in the other video, the reason they are happening is because your body is in such a heightened sense of all sorts of states, and you are hyper alert and hyper aware of everything going around you. And that is where derealization or depersonalization comes in. Everything around you feels like it is tenfold. Every sound feels like it is vibrating and pulsating within your inner ear. Everything you see is either very vibrant or doesn't hold color. Things are just way out of skew, and your body and your mind are trying to find a common ground while warning signals are being constantly shot through your entire system. Again, you are going through a fight or flight response, and your body is trying to figure out which one it wants to do. But you are also fighting that in the same time. And this is a very common response when you feel all sorts of symptoms, including depersonalization and derealization. The very first thing that you want to do is you want to fight it, you want to push back on it, you want it to go away. As I mentioned before, you want it to completely vanish. And the more fighting you do and the more pushing that you do, it is going to get worse. And I hate to be the one to say it, and I'm saying it because I did the same thing for a very long time before figuring out the dynamics of anxiety or panic attacks. The more you push it, the more you aggravate it, the more you become vigilant against it, the more it's going to push back. It is not an enemy, it is your ally, it is your friend, it is you. As I mentioned before, when you take that mask off, it is the reflection of you looking right back at you. So as I continue to share on my channel different tips, tricks, practical advice on how you can manage your anxiety, all those things apply to depersonalization and derealization as well. Just the fundamentals, the basics, right? The breath work that I've talked about before, the cold shower that I've talked about before, intermittent fasting tends to help. I've talked about that before as well. Journaling is great. Going for a walk in nature is fantastic. All these things will allow you to do one or another. The first one being it'll bring you to the present moment, rather than focusing way too much on what's going to happen in the future, that fear of future, impending doom, all that jazz, or it's going to bring you back to the present if you are focused way too much on the past, focused way too much on things that went wrong, things you said to someone, being able to come back to the present moment. And the second thing it is going to do, it'll teach you, allow you, and guide you to figure out how to let the waves of anxiety and the waves of symptoms pass. Let me repeat that. All your symptoms that you feel during anxious states or in a state of panic after you've had a panic attack, all those symptoms will eventually pass. They'll subside, they'll pass completely. This includes depersonalization, derealization. It's like waves, right? I've talked about these waves before. They come and go like the ebb and flow of an ocean. These waves will come and they will eventually pass. This too shall pass. It's a very important phrase and I want you to remember it. This too shall pass. Nothing is permanent. So if you are feeling depersonalization or derealization right now, it will eventually pass. And all the symptoms that I've talked about before that are scary but harmless, including this one, it could last a couple hours. It could last a couple days. For me, some of these lasted a couple weeks at a time. Again, a lot of this shifted once I figured out the dynamics and the fundamentals of how to navigate through my anxiety. I promise you that it'll get easier. It'll get better. You will get through this. You will grow through this. Things will eventually find their own way. Just be patient. And if you have any questions, please feel free to reach out. If there's any specific topic around anxiety, mental health, depression that you want me to expand upon, let me know. And if this video or any of the other videos have helped you in any way, please consider liking, subscribing, commenting below. It'll really help get this message out to more people. Thank you so much for watching, and I hope you have a wonderful day ahead.